Andrew Douglas in the Action News 5 digital desk. There is a new COVID-19 variant that is spreading in the U.S. Let's talk more about this with Dr. Jamie Wagner. She's clinical assistant professor of pharmacy practice at the University of Mississippi School of Pharmacy. Dr. Wagner, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Andrew. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Are you in Oxford or in Jackson?
I'm actually in Jackson.
Okay, great. So tell us about this COVID variant.
Yeah, so this COVID variant is actually a sub-variant of the original Omicron strain. So two different Omicron strains decided that they would like to cooperate and work together. And so they kind of merged into this XBB.1.5. So it is still an Omicron strain, but it's just a little bit more virulent, meaning it's easier to spread to people. And so that's why we're seeing it spread so quickly through the US right now.
So easier to spread, but my understanding, and I'm not a doctor, so forgive me, but my understanding is it's easier to spread, but it's less harsh. Is that correct?
That is correct from what we know of right now, yes.
Okay, so what else do we know about this variant, how it's affecting people? How long has it been around?
So I think that's a great question. So the variant has just recently emerged within the last couple of months. And so again, as far as we know, there are still a lot of people having hospitalizations, but having a vaccine or a prior COVID exposure has actually prepped immune systems to be ready to tackle this one. So I think that's just the more important thing to keep in mind is that if you can get a vaccine, even the updated bivalent Omicron booster COVID vaccine, that will offer a lot more protection against any of the severe and harsher side effects from this new strain that's coming out.
Okay, and we've been seeing over the last, I think it's more recently now as opposed to, let's say, 2 years ago, where the vaccine is getting a lot more critical, a more critical eye of what exactly are the side effects? Do people really need it? The spike proteins. So to our audience out there that's very concerned about the vaccine and maybe some of the side effects, what do you have to say to that?
I think that's a great question, and I 100% agree with you. I think a lot of people are still very concerned about what are the potential long-term side effects of getting the vaccine. And I think you really have to weigh in, well, what are the long-term risks of getting COVID, especially if you haven't been vaccinated? And so if you look at it, the side effects from the vaccine are actually quite mild. And they usually go away within a few days versus if you contract COVID, especially if you're not previously vaccinated or have not previously been exposed, these side effects can be quite severe, leading to hospitalization or death. But I think the thing that really kind of scares me as a healthcare provider is the long COVID. So these lingering symptoms for months, even into years, where all we can do is kind of help treat the symptoms, but we can't help make them go away right now. And I think for me, knowing that the vaccine or any prior COVID exposures can help protect me against long COVID or protect me against getting hospitalized or dying from any new strains that are going to be coming out or are currently out, I think that really speaks volumes to me to go ahead and give me a peace of mind that I'd rather get the vaccine than worry about any long-term downstream effects from contracting COVID.
Okay. And again, I don't want to get into the argument or the both sides of the vaccine debate because there's so much to do with that. But from your perspective, how many people who get COVID get long COVID?
It's actually a quite high percentage of people will get long COVID, but at the same time, it's really hard to know who will get it. So it doesn't necessarily matter if it was a super severe incidence of the infection versus a mild incidence. We just can't tell who is more at risk for having long COVID than others. But the risk of getting long COVID after an infection is quite high. And we're talking around like 70–80% of people.
Okay, so what's the biggest takeaway here? We got this new variant. It's not as strong as some of the other variants, but it's spreading faster. And there might be some people out there that says, we've been through, we've had this pandemic going in its third year right now. I'm going to take my chances on maybe getting COVID, or I don't want that vaccine, or maybe I want a vaccine, but I don't want the booster. I mean, like, let's give the final takeaway for some of our viewers now.
Yeah, I think the final takeaway is to keep in mind that it's not just you or your mom or your siblings that you're impacting if you do test positive for COVID. I think it's you need to remember you're impacting everyone around you. And so, if you think you're having symptoms, please go get tested right away. If it comes back positive, if you can stay home for at least 5 days, please stay home. If you can't, and even if you can, please wear a mask around others for at least 10 days. And also consider really reaching out to a prescriber, going to a pharmacy or to an urgent care center, and they can do test and treat options right there. We have a lot of antivirals that can help against these newer strains and be effective at reducing the duration of the symptoms. And so I think that that's really kind of the key point here, is to take care of yourself and take care of others.
Dr. Jamie Wagner, I really appreciate you breaking it down for us and looking at all sides of this debate and this information. I appreciate you breaking down all sides for us, and I know our viewers got a lot out of it. So we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me. Have a good day.